Hello and welcome to an episode of Sockcast's Clears, the Arknight show where I have a clear that I think is interesting enough for me to talk about for your viewing pleasure and edutainment. This is episode number 4, and it's being recorded the day after my birthday. I have now unironically been called the RA Unks, so I'm going to live up to that reputation and cast a clear that was sent in before my birthday from friend of the channel Asa Dekai. I've worked with him before, and I thought to myself, you know what? Yesterday I didn't really do much special for my birthday, but I did get a Switch 2, so I'm looking to play that very soon here. But before I do, I'm going to record this clear for myself because I think it's genuinely a clear that was basically made for me, and it's one of the best birthday presents that I could ever get. However, this clear is kind of more on the top end here, because if you clicked on the title and thumbnail being like, oh, only Chen, the Dawnstreak can do this? Oh yeah, it's only her. And you're gonna need to have some context as to why. So I'm gonna cut over to voiceover me for a second because that's gonna be longer than I'm willing to spend here and talk to you on camera for, so be back in a bit. Reclamation Algorithm is the other long-term game mode of Arknights right next to integrated strategies. It's the closest thing that the game has to a sandbox mode, and it also happens to come with a pretty lengthy campaign and also an infinite survival mode challenge. In this infinite challenge mode, called Critical Contentions, all enemies will scale indefinitely as the day count grows and grows. I've done a video about this before, and I highly recommend you should watch it because I think it's criminally underviewed. One of the people that I feature in this video is none other than Asa Dekai, the person who sent in the clear. He is one of the current players in contention for the global server survival record, which was, as of recording, 2,193 days. This particular fight was recorded on in-game day 2055, which means most enemies were scaled up with an additional 4,345% stats. That's an additional 43 times their normal HP, attack, and defense. By all accounts, doing this kind of boss map on a critical contentions run that has gone this far means that it is mathematically impossible to clear this because you are on a time limit to kill the boss. If the boss is not killed within 2 acts and the day resets, that boss goes right back up to full, like nothing ever happened. So while it is true that there are permastall tactics that can handle just about every raid composition in the game, certain elements, such as this, still rely on a DPS check to clear, and this is one of them. And we're back. So basically, I hope you get the gist of it here. We have an HP DPS check that is absurdly high, well beyond anything that you'll face in the main game, and Chen is our way of dealing with it here. However, the map is going to fight us on that, and the solution for getting it into Chen's range and how to make the Chen dragon deal absurd amounts of damage, that's the interesting part, and I'm going to show that to you right here. So let's get that recording started here. As you can see, Asa's got basically like everything that he could ever want or need because he's farmed that well before his RACC run started, and he is budgeted appropriately so that he can make sure that he has enough spare resources to afford an excursion like this. So we are on a no man's land map, so the only objective on the map is to kill the boss, right? And you technically have 2 acts to do it in, so those are 2 5-minute timers, but we're going to do it in one, as you'll see in just a moment here. We're going to start with a classic. Puzzle's just going to hit these hunting net launchers here, and that's going to make it so that he always has a target to hit that is at full HP, and that's going to generate oodles of DP with his skill 1. Easily one of my favorite strategies in RA that you can use in your normal games as well. I've featured this strategy multiple times over in these videos already, so if you haven't checked out my RA videos yet, do so. And next up, we're going to clear out a beachhead because we need to deal with those crossbows. Those crossbows are going to make it so that it is generally unsafe to stay on that left side where we're deploying platforms here. But as we'll see later, we have enough construct tech tree points to the point where these crossbows aren't a problem. They aren't affected by the RACC scaling stats, and thankfully this ends up working out just fine. So plan A is to deploy Golden Glow on this right side here, using the platform that Fartooth was able to snipe out from downtown here using her skill 3. That's not really going to work out, as you'll see in just a moment. He's going to come to a realization here. he's going to realize that those two crossbows over there are facing upwards, and she just can't take them out in time. In the meantime, we're going to set up Lemuel, and her sister is going to go on this platform here and start harassing the boss, but more importantly, she's going to stay within her, the attack range, or have the boss stay within her attack range, rather, to have Lemuel mark it as wanted, which means she can auto-attack wanted enemies from way across the map, and that's exactly what she's going to do right here. Lemuel is going to basically like lure the boss over all the way to the left side, where we can further secure that boss's position with Unectes' RA mod. Now you might be thinking, oh wait, Unectes mod, why is it relevant here? You would normally just use it for like raid defense, right? And you would be correct, but you know, turns out if you have an ability that says I want this enemy to go right here, it's pretty good. Now, you could use Tragodia as well, but Unectes' radius is like 5 tiles, so like it's way bigger. And also Tragodia has a different duty to enact on this map in particular, so we're going to be using him for something else. We can't have the skill 2 kitty out for that long. So here we go, long little process of drawing this boss to the low ground tiles that we can actually use, because the rest of this map here is just pits. It's just pits. You know, you're not deploying anything there, especially with a crossbow coverage. Those things are very, very mean in the normal game, and yeah, I'd rather not. So a bit more setup here. Here comes Unectes. She's going to secure that little tile position right there. And we're going to have a little bit more setup here. You can also notice that the tiles are green. That's because we earlier also used one of those pterodactyls, the vanilla wings, to sew those tiles to give extra attack speed, which is very nice considering that we have a rightward blowing sandstorm here. And that's going to lower the leftmost operator attack speed due to the weather, of course. And so yeah, the weather in Arsalan, pretty bad. Speaking of weather, I don't know how weathermen do this kind of thing. It's a serious skill. They probably have teleprompters, but I'm learning on the fly here, and it's hard to look at the camera while looking at whatever I'm gesturing at. And right here, we're gonna set up some more support as well. There's one piece of high ground to the south of the tile. We're still checking on those crossbows on the right, but he'll find out later that it's not really necessary. He did this live on stream, by the way, so I am going off of a stream recording here. Unectes should hopefully get retreated here. Puzzle's also been farming DP, and Tragodia there is on skill 1, binding and inflicting nervous impairment so that we don't lose extra casualties to the auto attacks here, and that's going to keep this thing locked down for sure. All right, now here comes the magic moment here. We're still getting set up. Fartooth was plopped down to just kind of defend that tile, because we want that tile to stay there for a little bit of support, and also because of how Chen's skill interacts here. So we have Chen down on that low ground tile here. Puzzle still farming, but he's going to get retreated to set up another piece of high ground on his tile. And Chen's skill 3, the little dragon projectile, bounces off of walls and placeable high ground in RA, so it's going to go in one glorious circle right here. We're going to have Exu down to shred the boss's hit count shield. I'm just going to let it speak for itself. Look at that. That is millions of HP effectively here being shredded down, because Chen's skill 3 does its damage based on the enemy's current HP. All right, this, no matter how high it gets, it's always going to deal a percentage of that. And so obviously it doesn't kill it in one skill activation, because the lower the current HP, the lower damage it's going to deal. However, it's still dealing a very large amount of damage. Now, in normal gameplay, this does have a damage minimum, so it's not like it's going to be at like 10 HP and she deals like, what, 0.5 damage or something like that. It's not that ridiculous. It does have a lower floor, so to speak here, but here in RACC, it's going to take a little bit longer for Chen to reach that damage floor. And of course, it's arts damage as well, so we can further improve that by adding in arts fragility, because in terms of the weakness trait that Chen has, where it deals whatever the enemy is more weaker to, since the defense is scaled way up, like, absurd levels, it's always going to be arts damage. Let's just make that clear right here, right now, especially with the limited time that we have here. But there it is. The boss is dead, and he's just going to clean up the crossbows here to no avail, but it doesn't matter. The stage is already done, and so that is gonna do it. And what do we get for our efforts here? Oh, just a little bit of a paltry reward. No big deal, right? So anyways, that's the clear, and I just want to say that again, my bias is probably showing here, but RA is truly my favorite game mode because you can do whatever you dang well please. It is the closest thing that Arknights has to a sandbox mode, barring, you know, whatever it is that we get next. Maybe we'll get a level editor when the game goes EOS. Let's maybe not manifest that, but hey, be careful what I wish for, right? The other thing that I want to just kind of point out here is that just pay attention to your operator kits. You never know when the little quirks of each operator is going to be relevant in all sorts of different contexts. And Arknights is just such a beautifully designed game that no matter what you're doing, there's always going to be some more, you know, underappreciated details that you might not have noticed. You'll realize that I've glossed over a lot of details here in terms of what I could have been talking about during this clear. There's a bunch of food effects that most of the team is basically under camouflage because everything is probably going to kill them in one shot. There's a whole bunch of tech tree perks and logistics operators that I could have gone over, but those are just all passively, silently working in the background here, and there's so much to RA that, you know, it's better that I just give you the main beats for this little cast here. And yeah, this is basically the best birthday present that I could have thought of, so thank you, Asa, for sending in that clear. If you have a clear that I think would be interesting, go ahead and tell me about it in the comments or send it to me over Discord, and I will try my best to pick out the ones that I find interesting. I can make something interesting to talk about out of, and hopefully post them on the channel here soon. Yeah, the upload schedule's been rough, admittedly. Like, these things, they don't take me too long, but I've been trying to like juggle a lot of different things here, so appreciate any support that you can throw at me in these trying times. I've been dealing with a lot lately. And yeah, that's gonna be it. Thank you so much for watching. I didn't really do much to celebrate my birthday yesterday, but my fiance thought it would be nice to get me a Switch too, so Splatoon Raiders comes out today, and I guess I'm gonna try to play it on stream after I finish editing this video. So yeah, I'll see you then, and please take care of yourselves and each other, and I'll see you in the next episode. Take care.